back in Washington, we had some actual class war break out in Congress, and then also a couple of petty, ridiculous fights. We'll get to the petty, ridiculous fights at the back end of this. Let's start with the class war. We can put up this first element here. There were union leaders came to the committee chaired by Bernie Sanders to talk about some of their recent victories. Sean O'Brien, the head of the Teamsters, had gotten into a tussle, which we're going to talk about in a moment, with Mark Wayne Mullin, who is also a real person, a senator from Oklahoma, who was elected to the House back in 2012, now over in the Senate. He ran a plumbing company, and that's going to be relevant to this fight that we're going to see break out. I don't want to spoil too much of it, so let's just roll this clip from the Bernie Sanders Help Committee yesterday.
Everybody knows this here, and the last time, him and I kind of had a back and forth. Appreciate your demeanor today. It's quite different. But after you left here, you got pretty excited about the keyboard. In fact, you tweeted at me 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 times. And let me read what the last one said. It said, greedy CEO who pretends like he's self-made. Sir, I wish you was in the truck with me when I was building my plumbing company myself. And my wife was running the office because I sure remember working pretty hard and long hours. Pretends like he's self-made. What a clown. Fraud. Always has been, always will be. Quit the tough guy act in these Senate hearings. You know where to find me. Any place, anytime, cowboy. Sir, this is a time, this is a place. If you want to run your mouth, we can be two consenting adults. We can finish it here.
Okay, that's fine. Perfect.
You want to do it now?
I'd love to do it right now.
Well, stand your butt up then.
You stand your butt up.
Oh, hold on.
Big
Oh,
guy.
stop it.
Is that your solution every
Hold it. No, sit down. Sit down. Okay. You know, you're a United States Senator. Sit down.
Active.
Oh, okay.
Sit down, please.
All right.
Can I respond? Mr.
Hold
Chairman?
it. Hold it.
Now that's a grandfather move.
Yeah, Bernie breaking up the fight. Before we get into the background on why they went to war like this, anything you want to tell us about Mark Wayne Mullin or why this? Okay, all right.
But also, if you were listening, he stood up. So if you were listening to the audio version of that, Mark Wayne Mullin actually, behind the desk, stood up.
The camera didn't know what to do because all of a sudden now it's just
C-SPAN's like, what the hell?
Our cameras don't move that high.
Yeah.
Why'd this guy just stand up?
They're not on a swivel. They're just in the same spot. So yeah, he physically stood up as though he was going to go down towards the witness stand.
Yes, and so back in March, there was another hearing of these same union leaders. And the background is that, so Mark Wayne Mullin inherited his father's plumbing company in Oklahoma. And it was a large company that was involved in a lot of large projects. And so the Teamsters, the pipe fitters, which are part of the Teamsters, tried to unionize Mark Wayne Mullin's company. Mm-hmm. They protested outside his house, outside his business. Shame on Mark Wayne Mullin. This is very standard union stuff that they were doing. Drove him completely batty. Right. So he confronted O'Brien last time. So let's roll this first clip here.
I started with nothing, absolutely nothing. In fact, I started below nothing. And I started growing this little plumbing company with 6 employees to now we have over 300 employees. And back in 2009, you guys tried to unionize me. My guys were making money. They were getting paid more than the union halls were paying their plumbers. Our benefits were better. But because we started bidding jobs that were union jobs and winning those, union pipe fitters decided they were going to come after us. They would show up at my house. They'd be leaning up against my trucks. I'm not afraid of a physical confrontation. In fact, sometimes I look forward to it. That's not my problem.
So, Ryan, most of the coverage of this was sort of an inch deep and didn't go to this context from earlier in the spring, which, whatever you think of Mark Wayne Mullin, that is a much more substantive line of questioning at a hearing than just going through someone's tweets, it's so ridiculous. I mean, again,
Yeah.
Anyway, I was glad that you dug up the context because it all makes so much more sense when you recognize that this goes back years between the two of them.
Yeah, and this is real class war. And so so then Markway Mullin then presses O'Brien, how much money do you make? They then fight about how much truckers who work for the Teamsters make, and then it finishes with this. Again, this is from last March, which predated this near fight. So let's roll the last little bit of this.
Sir, you don't even know what hard work is. You want to follow my schedule?
I'll do it in a minute. Secondly, UPS feeder drivers, and you can quote Carol Tomei, who quoted this. They make $93,000 on the lower end. Some of them making $150,000.
I said feeder drivers.
Feeder drivers, tractor trailer drivers. Some of them making $150,000 per year.
Some of them do.
And
I don't disagree with that.
Most of them make over.
After you've been there 4 years.
Most of them make over $1,000.
Okay.
Most of them make over $100,000.
So reclaiming my time, I go back to the whole fact that, sir, you haven't created a job.
We haven't?
You haven't been there. You haven't.
Sure we have.
You haven't.
Sure we have.
Tell me one job that you created.
What are you talking about? Be specific.
You're an employer?
No, we're not
You
an
employ
employer.
people?
No, but it's funny.
So, no, then hold on.
We
Then
create
that's not creating
opportunity.
jobs.
We create opportunity because we
Sir,
hold greedy CEOs
that's
like yourself
not-
accountable.
You're calling me a greedy CEO.
Oh yeah, you are.
Hilarious.
You want to attack my salary? I'll attack yours. What
go
did you
ahead.
make? What did you make when you owned your company?
When I made my company, I kept my salary down at about $50,000 a year because I invested every penny into it.
Okay, all right. You mean you hid money?
No, I didn't hide. Oh, hold on a second.
Okay, go ahead.
He said that's out of line. You said
All right,
I was out of line.
we're even.
We're not even. We're not even close to being even. You think it's smart? You think you're funny?
No,
You're not.
You think you're funny?
No, I never said. Did I
You
smile?
frame
Did I laugh?
your opening
Hold
statement.
on.
You frame your opening
right.
statement
No,
saying you're a tough
Senator,
guy.
continue.
This-
Senator, please
This
continue
is
your
behavior,
statements.
but sir, this is. I think it's great.
So not hard to see how it rolled from that to 8 months later, Markway Mullin demanding satisfaction.
Yeah, well, I mean, listen, Markway Mullin was right that they were not even close to even because Sean O'Brien got the best of
Yes,
him in
he
that
did.
exchange because, again, he's the one testifying. He's not the United States senator who's going through mean tweets from the podium. And another thing I'd like to say is I enjoyed that both of the union leaders were named Sean.
Yeah.
So Sean Fain was also there, obviously the head of the UAW. Sean O'Brien, as Ryan mentioned, was head of the Teamsters. And they did have an actual exchange about electric cars. I'm not talking about Markway Mullin, but there were actual exchanges between the senators about electric cars. The title of the committee's hearing was Standing Up Against Corporate Greed, How Unions Are Improving the Lives of Working Families. And Bill Cassidy, a Republican from Louisiana, said that this was, quote, a taxpayer-funded pep rally for big labor unions. Bernie Sanders says, quote, how do we create an economy that works for all of our people and not just the few? We have more wealth inequality than the Gilded Age. Sarah Nelson was also there. Fain spoke about some of his history that you've covered really in great detail for years. He talked about the deals that were just made, and it was there's so much substance right now when you have all of these union leaders in front of you to ask him about mean tweets. I mean, do I think that the head of the Teamsters should be tweeting like that about U.S. senators? Probably not. But my God, you're a senator whose constituents are being affected by these deals every single day, affected by these deals, and that you would waste the people's time reading mean tweets because your ego is more important than actual questions because you want to push this guy on personal beefs. I mean, I just thought it was pathetic.
And also, if you actually wanted to get in a fist fight, that's not the place to do it because you know you're going to get broken up before the punches ever start getting thrown.
Yeah.
You got to go actually to the Teamsters Hall. Like it's actually right on Capitol Hill, the building.
Yeah.
You could call them and say, hey, meet me down the sidewalk.
It's a nice building.
It's the nicest thing they've got. It's
Speaking
incredible.
of the Gilded Age,
Yeah.
it's like literally a gilded building.
It's an incredible building. So just walk down there if he really wants to fight. So he just wanted the clip.
Yeah, and so
He knew Bernie wouldn't let that happen.
one of the better exchanges, Diana Furchgett-Ross, she's at the Heritage Foundation and takes very predictable conservative positions on energy policies. But she actually raised this really interesting point about union jobs and electric cars. And this is, again, one of the least discussed but most serious fault lines happening right now. And any person who cares seriously about this, like Sean Fain, who does, has put a lot of thought into where the Democratic Party wants to go. I mean, the Biden administration struck a deal on renewable energy with China yesterday. That announcement happened yesterday. And they were talking about mean tweets in this hearing. Diana Fritchett-Roth raised this point, but that should have been, I mean, if anything, if Republicans in the Senate wanted to have a conversation, when you have all these union leaders in front of you, it should be about that. It should be about actually where the party that these, in many cases, unions are giving on the political side, that they're giving donations to, how is that affecting the existence of the jobs that their workers might be able to have in the next 5 to 10 years? Obviously, a much more immediate and serious question than why did you tweet that I'm a greedy CEO or something like that?
So that was pettiness that kind of was over top of an actually substantive difference. We have, next we can move to pettiness over a vote around Speaker. It's looks like Kevin McCarthy gave somebody a kidney shot in the hallway who voted to oust him from Speaker. Let's roll this.
Explain to us what happened with you and Kevin McCarthy.
Well, I was doing an interview with Claudia from NPR, a lovely lady, and she was asking me a question, and at that time I got elbowed in the back, and it kind of caught me off guard because it was a clean shot to the kidneys, and I turned back, and there was Kevin, and I for a minute I was kind of, what the heck just happened? And then I chased after him. Of course, he's as I've stated many times, he's a bully with $17 million in a security detail. You know, he's the type of guy that when you're a kid would throw a rock over the fence and run home and hide behind his mama's skirt. And he just, you know, he from behind, that kind of stuff. That's not the way we handle things in East Tennessee. If we have a problem with somebody, I'm going to look them in the eye and talk to them.
Okay, so he walked down the hallway, hit you in with his elbow.
Yeah, you can go on Claudia's Twitter account. It pretty much, or X account. It's very accurate.
But, okay, so then just explain. So you chased him? What do you mean you chased him?
I just ran after him. I was like, what the heck? Why'd you do that? Because it was, like I said, if you've ever been hit in the kidneys, it's a little different. You don't have to hit very hard to.
Well, so at least he's giving McCarthy credit for being precise, that he really got him in the kidneys. I think this whole thing might be giving Kevin McCarthy too much credit for, taking any type of aggression into his own hands. It doesn't seem like something Kevin McCarthy would do, to be honest, but he is right. The NPR reporter has said that she witnessed this.
There you go.
That's Tim Burchett, by the way, who voted against McCarthy.
Right.
He's one of what McCarthy calls the, quote, hateful eight,
yep.
who voted against him.
So Matt Gaetz, the leader of the hateful eight, the crazy eights, who I also called them the crazy eights, Gaetz Crazy Eights. Is that,
I like it. It's like Dr.
He
Seuss.
filed an ethics complaint. And so McCarthy has said the entire thing organized against him was about Gaetz' own ethics complaint that McCarthy would refuse to halt. So now Gaetz has filed an ethics complaint saying that it was unethical to give a kidney shot in the back to a member of Congress. McCarthy himself responded by saying he didn't do it. He just kind of tapped him a little bit, and if he hit somebody in the kidney, that they would be on the ground.
Yeah.
So this is not the complete state of Congress. We have one more. Even.
Well, so we even have McCarthy's response, which is great, Ryan.
So let's put up
here's what he said. If I hit somebody, they would know it. If I kidney punch someone, they would be on the ground. And to the point about they would know it, well, I mean, they're saying they do.
They do know it.
Saying
he's not on the ground,
it.
but he said it hurt a lot. It still hurt.
And I shouldn't say that it's giving McCarthy too much credit for taking any aggression into his own hands, because popping a guy in the back when he's not looking, come on, not an honorable way to settle your dispute with the hateful eight, Leader McCarthy, former Leader McCarthy, if that's what happened. But what a ridiculous state of affairs that only got more ridiculous in another hearing, Ryan.
So this is an oversight committee hearing. James Comer starts out attacking Dan Goldman as a trust fund baby, which
fair.
No lies detected there.
Sounds like he's been reading your Twitter feed.
There you go. And then he goes on. Let's just roll this one.
You and Goldman, who is Mr. Trust Fund, continue to try to
reclaiming my time.
No, I'm not going to give you your time back. We can stop the clock. You all continue to. You look like a Smurf here, just going around and all this stuff. Now listen,
Mr. Chairman,
And so we fact checked this claim of him looking like a Smurf. We can roll this If you're watching, if you're not watching and you're listening, he's got a Smurf outfit on, kind of bright blue. This is Jared Moskowitz.
Bright
What do
blue
you
from
think?
head to toe.
Fact check true.
Fact check true. I feel confident.
Fact check rude and true.
Yeah,
Yes.
the Counterpoints is able to verify the claims of Chairman Comer. Jared Moskowitz looks like a Smurf.
He was probably also right in whatever that dispute was over. Oh, they were fighting about Comer's allegations about some
Hunter Biden,
yeah.
right? Yes, and they were going back and
Comer
forth.
getting
about,
over his skis on
They were making
saying that he can prove more than he can actually prove.
Well, they're making allegations about Comer's own family deals, and Comer sort of went off after that.
That's right, because he thought he had a smoking gun because there was a check from James Biden to Joe Biden. And they're like, look, $200,000 moving. And the Bidens are like, look, he lent him money and he paid him back. This is what families do. And it turns out that Comer's family has done the exact same thing.
I do, in this case, agree with Comer that there's the pattern of how that money moved is really specific. It's not definitive or conclusive because short of having a confession, nothing would be. But actually, when the money was transferred, the
timing lines up.
The timing
with
lines
the Republican theory of the case here.
And the amount of money. Yeah, absolutely. So if Democrats want to deflect to James Comer instead of dealing with the question of Hunter Biden, by all means, go for it. We'll talk about who looks more like a Smurf. We'll talk about if someone did pop someone in the kidney. We'll continue to get to the bottom of these important questions if these are the important questions they choose to focus on. Hey, if you liked that video, don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe to Breaking Points.
If you want to see the rest of Counterpoints, go to breakingpoints.com to become a premium member and get the full uncut show every morning in your inbox and on Spotify.
Help us build independent news and get the full show every morning at breakingpoints.com.